Support for Audacious with Chion Wolf provided by a generous contribution from Suzanne Hopgood in memory of Frank Lord.
From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I'm Chion Wolf. Come into this bar with me. It's one of those classic, dimly lit joints with a stage in the back, jukebox in the corner, and wobbly bar stools. You hear someone tapping on a microphone, and you see a man in a glimmering jumpsuit. Before you can even process what's happening, he lets out a smooth, unmistakable, "Thank you. Thank you very much." You do a double take. Is this real? Did you just time travel? Because the way he sings, the way he is, it feels like Elvis never left the building. Now come with me to this packed concert hall. The energy and excitement is palpable. The lights dim, and then boom, the whole stage turns purple. A slender figure struts onto the stage. He is decked out in velvet, his heels are clicking, and his guitar is slung real low. And just before he plays the first shock of guitar, he locks eyes with the audience and delivers that signature Prince side eye. The one that says, "You should feel lucky to be here." And suddenly, you very much do. Some people see the world of tribute artistry as imitation. But the great ones, the ones who really pull you in, they aren't just mimicking a look or a sound. They're channeling an entity, an energy, a moment in time that, if they do it right, makes you forget that they aren't the real thing. And if those artists they're emulating have died, like Prince and the King, it feels like we're sharing space with their most holy spirits. Today, we're stepping into that world with two incredible artists. Marshall Charloff is the frontman of the Purple Experience, a Prince tribute band that's played all around the world. And Rick Torres is one of the busiest Elvis impersonators in the country, headlining big events, officiating weddings, of course, and performing in a few surprising places. So what does it take to do what they do? What's the difference between a good impersonator and a great one? And when you've spent years embodying a legend, what does that do to your own identity? Let's start with Marshall. Now, since Marshall and Prince are both Minneapolis natives, I asked him to imagine that he's at a party downtown, and maybe he's talking to a 20-something, and they say, "Prince, that's the purple guy, right? Why is he such a big deal anyway?" After Marshall's heart might sink, how would he respond?
I would say he's the Mozart of our generation, and that's a good place to start. Anybody that 20-something is following, or whoever they are admiring, was influenced by Prince. And whatever qualities that person has, Prince embodied. He was great at everything. You know, he's been compared to Hendrix, of course. He's been compared to James Brown, and you can go down the line with all the people he's compared to. The thing is, it was all packaged in one guy. So the virtuoso guitar playing of Hendrix, yep, check. And then you go the composition, just even the body of work on the level of the Beatles, who were four Beatles plus a producer. This is one guy who had to put out thousands of songs. And there's even more that we haven't even heard yet. The work ethic, his aesthetic. And really, that was kind of one of those generational things where, how many artists do you know where they can own a color? Purple. Oh, that's Prince. The purple one. You can't say that about any other artist. So also the way he kind of transformed the industry and how he was an advocate for artists' rights and keeping their music and their masters and the royalty structures. Yeah, I was trying to be concise. It didn't work out too well. But he just was all things and did them on a level and executed them on a level unseen before.
Will you take me back to your earliest memory of Prince?
So this was Funky Town was all over the radio. So this is, 79. And I'm a Minneapolis, kid. And it got word that it was the biggest song in the world. In the world. That was the biggest song, 80 countries simultaneously, number one. Funky Town. And I'm like, this came out of Minnesota? Yeah. But there's also this other kid that came out of Minnesota. His name is Prince. So Minnesota's becoming a thing. I wasn't even a musician at that time. I was just a kid taking this in. And the first song I heard was a song. We're kids in the playground, and some kid played the song called "You Off." I've never mentioned this to anybody, but that was the first song I ever heard. It's on the Controversy album. It's called "You Off." And now we're kids, so we think it's hysterical. And it's a Minneapolis guy. And we just thought it was a local thing. Like, we didn't know that anybody else had heard of Prince. And he had already had a hit. He'd already had "I Want to Be Your Lover," but that wasn't on my radar yet. Maybe a year or two later, then I heard "I Want to Be Your Lover," and it was all over the radio. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's not just a Minneapolis thing. This guy's all over the place. And it really wasn't until Purple Rain before I was, okay, I'm in. You got me. I'm fully subscribed now. I get it now. It wasn't until you put the visual component to it, and the MTV and Little Rick Corvette 99 and all that's when it became bigger than life for me.
Will you talk about when you were a teenager and you met Prince for the first time?
So I was in a band with his cousin, Prince's first cousin, and we were actually doing Kool and the Gang covers. And Frank is Prince's cousin and my friend. And he said, Prince wants to possibly mentor us and see where we're at and maybe take us under his wing. And at that time, I wasn't even convinced that the rumor was true. Everybody said this is Prince's cousin, and he told me he was Prince's cousin, but I didn't believe him because in Minneapolis at that time, you really couldn't have a conversation with anybody who didn't bring up how they knew Prince. And there was always, 7 degrees to Prince or whatever. Like, my accountant knows his accountant, or that was just always the thing. So he's like, I'm his cousin. I'm like, yeah, sure you are. So I didn't fully believe him. But anyway, he's like, well, we're going to go down. He invited us to his warehouse where they're rehearsing the Revolution. And this was a couple of years before Paisley Park was even constructed. So it was just an industrial area, a warehouse. And we rolled up, and the timing was perfect because they were on a break. So Prince was outside on the lawn having a picnic with a couple French girls, as you could imagine.
I can.
So he was in full Prince regalia, and he came up and he introduced himself. And we shook hands, and it was pretty normal.
Wait a minute. Pretty normal. I mean, I see what you mean, but what was going on in you in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, the reality just hit me that, okay, this is Prince's cousin. How is it that, because it was a public area. There was a print shop next door and just, a lot of deliveries being made and trucks coming and going. He was just sitting on the lawn. This is the biggest pop star in the world at that time. What is going on? So the normal, I guess, that's weird to frame it as pretty normal. Nothing about that was normal, but just that we shook hands and he said, hi, I'm Prince. And I said, hi, I'm Marshall. Good to meet you. And that was kind of normal. But the normal stopped pretty quick after that. And then he asked me a 3-word question. He said, do you lie? It was kind of a test. I looked at it like, how do you feel the question like, do you lie? So I asked him to repeat it. I'm sorry. Could you say that again? Yeah. Do you lie? And the girls who were still kind of on the grass behind him having their little picnic, they were in earshot and they were giggling. So something about that question, I could tell he was somehow inside, it was an inside thing where it was funny to them and it was a test to me. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do with that question. And so I said, I try not to. And that was the right answer. So he's like, cool, man. Yeah, you should never lie. So that was just how it started.
So you're a musician, you love Prince, you're developing this idea for a tribute band in 2010. Will you talk about how that idea came about and what Prince said about it when you ran the idea by him?
Really, it was, he advocated people working. He wanted, that's how you got to earn. That's how you got to earn. He was a working musician. He did a lot of studio work and whatnot, but he wanted to get out there and gig. So Prince was like, I get it. The only thing that Prince asked was that we honor the music, that nothing's tracked, nothing was pre-recorded, nothing's auto-tuned, that we're authentic. He didn't want a circus. He didn't want it to be this tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing. He wanted it to be authentic. That's it. And at the highest level. And that was all we promised. And that's what we maintain to this day.
Now, you've talked about how even when you're singing his songs, it's you channeling him.
Yeah.
It's not you pretending to be him. It's not you acting as him.
Right.
It's you are opening yourself up so he can come through you. Yeah?
Absolutely. And that's where the authenticity is found and why it doesn't come off cheeky, cheesy, forced, contrived. Yeah, his energy. I mean, he was so confident and had such a command and a bravado because he could back it up because he's bad. He's the best in the world. He knew it. And when I take the stage, I know it too. There's a cocky that kind of takes over. You can't be a Prince tribute dude if you're not cocky. Can't happen. Yeah, I suppose it probably carries into my the rest of my life too, which isn't a bad thing.
Well, no, actually, that's something I wanted to talk about because when you've been spending all these years channeling him and what he means to you, I wonder how he seeps into the rest of your life. Like, is he in you when you're going down the frozen food aisle at the grocery store? Talk about that, please.
Absolutely. And this is before doing any tribute work. This came from the first meeting with him. So, I'm 5'5", which is much taller than he was. He was 5'2", but we were about the same height because he had his heels. So when we were face to face, we were exactly the same height. And I remember thinking, I no longer ever need to feel inadequate ever about my stature, about being a short dude, small dude. That's over. That ends today. And it did. It really did. So I carried myself as a 6 foot whatever giant from that day forward. And that is his influence. Almost like I somehow siphoned some of his bravado or whatever that is. I got some of it that day and never looked back. So yeah, he's with me in everything, non-music ventures, everything without a question. Set a new path for me where I just didn't feel I just do not feel inadequate ever. And, of course it boded well and didn't know I was going to be a tribute artist to Prince, but obviously that has helped me out quite a bit because, I'm uniquely qualified to do what I do, to have his stature and his size, to have his vocal range, to play all the instruments, to be a producer, writer, performer, to be from Minneapolis, all these things like to have a one-man show, to have a Las Vegas residency. I played with 30 symphony orchestras touring with this show. Like anybody else to have my background, it's never going to happen again, ever. I'm not saying there isn't going to be somebody coming up right now who's a teenager who's everything I am and more and whatnot, but he isn't going to have my background. He didn't know Prince. He didn't do this. So it's pretty unique.
That was Marshall Charloff, a performer who doesn't impersonate Prince. He lives his music. As you'll hear, his solo career contains some of Prince's DNA, and his tribute band, The Purple Experience, has been going strong since 2011. When we get back, how does Marshall feel when he puts on those clothes right before a show?
It is akin to Superman's cape. There's no question about it. My cockiness triples when I put the outfit on.
And what has being an Elvis Presley impersonator done for Rick Torres?
Well, he definitely helped me with my confidence. He definitely helped me look at myself in a different way.
By the way, we're going out with my favorite Prince song of all time, 7. I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Sing with me. This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf, and that is not Prince. That's the voice of Marshall Charloff with his Prince tribute band, The Purple Experience. Today we're talking to artists who don't just impersonate music legends, they channel them. So what's it like to live in the shadow of icons and still find your own spotlight? In a little bit, you'll meet Rick Torres. He's been embodying the spirit of Elvis Presley for over 20 years. But right now, we're getting to know Marshall Charloff. He's been channeling Prince since 2011, when he assembled his band, The Purple Experience. In our conversation, you'll hear Marshall mention someone named Matt, a.k.a. Dr. Fink. He was Prince's loyal keyboard player from day one and co-founder of The Purple Experience. Let's get back to our conversation. I want to know what song of all the songs is the one that you salivate at the idea of performing. That one. Which one is that?
Oh, wow. See, because I don't perform the ones that I really, really salivate over.
Why not?
Because they're too obscure. So in the Purple Experience, in that show, we get hardcore fans, of course, and they don't want to hear Purple Rain in 1999 and everything, you know. But 90% of the audience does. It's really tough because I know who they are. I know who the hardcore fans are. There's a moment in the show where the band exits the stage and it's just me sitting on the piano. And that's where I survey the room, find out, are we casual fans here? Or are there enough of y'all that can go deep? Are there some Deep Purple people? And I literally throw it out there and I'm like, are you out there? And then I'll ask them to shout out requests. And when they go, Purple Rain, sorry, I don't know that song. What you know? And when they do that, okay, I get it. We're going to stay on the surface. That's fine. This isn't for me. You know, this is for you. I got a lot of things that feed me musically. What do you guys need? So when I do play a room or in an environment where I know they can handle it, I will go deeper into some of the songs that move me. And in my one-man show, it's the same thing.
All right. So when you're in your car and you've got your, I was about to say your iPod hooked up. I don't know what generation I'm from at this point. When you are alone and you want to put that song on that will connect you to the soul of Prince, to the soul of yourself, to the center of the universe, what song is that?
Soul Sanctuary is one that I've been listening to a lot lately. When I'm putting on makeup before every show, I do put on Prince. That's real. Honestly, that's the only time I listen to Prince. I don't listen to him during the week because it's so overwhelming. There's so much material, and it's like I do this for a living. I need to shut it down, and so I do. I shut it down. But right before the show, putting on makeup, I always listen to something, and I get into that's helping me channel, right? Get into his orb and energy and whatnot. So there's something about Soul Sanctuary. There's just something transcendent about that song. It's so gorgeous.
Over and over, your screams are like a prayer. In the dark, you are there, my soul sanctuary.
So when you are getting ready to go on stage, you're doing the makeup, you've got the outfit on, maybe you fastened that final button, you look at yourself in the mirror right before you go out. What is that moment like before you step out?
There is something that happens when the outfit goes on, and it is akin to Superman's cape. There's no question about it. My cockiness goes up triples when I put the outfit on. I don't sound check in costuming, of course. And so if I'm in a new room where the staff doesn't know me and I'm dealing with sound guys and lighting guys and whatever, they don't know what's going to happen. They have no clue what's about to happen because I'm not that guy yet. I'm pretty easygoing, humble, trying for the win-win in every outcome. And then the outfit goes on, the cape goes on, and I warn them. I say, hey, look, there's something that happens when I put the outfit on and I'm channeling his energy. So if I ask for something over the microphone, just be aware that a lot of it is theater, because that's what Prince did. Prince produced in real time. He's the sound man and the guitar player and the drummer and everything, and the lighting. So if something wasn't right in the middle of his performance, he's not just going to, well, I'll talk to him after the show. He's a perfectionist. You need to turn up the bass. You need to roll off some high end on the guitar. You need to turn the lights, house lights off, house lights on. These kinds of things he did in his performances. So I do the same thing. It just comes out of me. And it's not necessarily over the top kind. Hi, Jim, can you please turn up the guitar? No, turn up the guitar. The way Prince did it. And so I give them that little disclaimer ahead of time. I usually mention, I'm in character, and just know this is a character, and know we are in a theatrical performance. And that badass in me is going to come out. You're going to see it. So just don't be caught off guard. And a lot of times after the show, they're like, wow, I'm so glad you gave me that disclaimer because I would have kicked your butt.
I'd like to transition into the inevitable, difficult part of this conversation, which is the death of Prince. Is it okay if I ask you about that?
Definitely, yeah.
Will you talk about when you heard the news and what that was like for you?
Yeah, so it was the 20th of April. The next day, we were scheduled to be in Chicago. So obviously, I couldn't process anything. And my instinct was to call Matt and commiserate with him, find out where he was at and if he was okay, because he was way, way closer to Prince than anybody, and definitely more than I was. And also, we had a show the next day, which there was no way I was doing. So I was just checking in with him, and I said, are you okay? Like, oh my God. And he's like, yes. He said, I'm going to call you back. I have the news. Everybody was on his front lawn. All the national, CBS, ABC, CNN, everybody wouldn't let him leave his house. And he's like, they're all camped out. And I said, oh, well, go deal with that. Call me back. Do you want me to call the agent and just tell him, obviously, we're not doing the show? And he said, oh, no, we're doing the show. And I said, I don't think you're processing, you're probably in shock right now, but I'm not doing the show. So therefore, we're not doing the show. And he's like, I will call you back, but I really want you to do the show. And I'll explain my reasoning, but I really want you to do it. And so I'm just stewing in all this and going, I'm not doing a show. And then he called me and we talked about it, and he told me how important he thought it was that we needed to mourn and we needed to gather, and we need, because nobody can handle this, as close as we all were, and this is what we do. And he's like, we need to be together. And I did it as a favor to him, but it was kind of under protest. And then, I rode with him. So Matt and I drove from Minneapolis to Chicago. We didn't fly. And so we talked about it the whole way, and he told me stories, and he had talked about Prince and, in the years prior, but not on this level. So I heard a different side, and I don't know, it was pretty powerful. And then we get to the venue and they're camping out. So you got all the satellite trucks, because they know Dr. Fink is playing with a Prince tribute. And this is national news now, because how weird is this 24 hours later? And so they're all trying to film and interview me, and I wasn't going to do any interview. First of all, I didn't think I was going to be shed in a positive light. I wouldn't be. My fans wouldn't understand. What are you doing 24 hours later? Doesn't make any sense. And I agreed, but I agreed to do the show as a favor to Matt. But I wouldn't let anybody film the sound check. And I was mad, and I was just beside myself. And I said, I want to come out and play The Cross, which is also, wow, powerful song. But I want to play it by myself. I'm just going to go out there on the guitar and just play it before the band comes in. And I expected to just kind of be beside myself and removed from everything. And there was this spiritual lifting of any heaviness was taken away from me. And the audience we were in celebration mode. We weren't in mourning mode. I was fully expecting, like, how am I going to do it? Let's party like it's 1990. How are we going to do all that 24 hours later? I didn't know how we were going to do it, and we did. And I can't explain it to this day. I don't understand what happened, but I was almost immediately, maybe third song in, oh, this is celebration. This isn't sadness, darkness, mourning. This is celebration, and I have never looked back. So when people, get sad, and of course at my shows, all the time people are crying in Purple Rain, and they're telling me their stories, and they're sad, and I don't have that. It's not sad to me. Prince lives in many ways, and certainly through we're never going to get through all his music, not in our lifetime. So he lives through me a little bit and lives through many. And I'm just not sad about it. And I don't know if I should feel guilty for not being sad about it. All I know is I planned to be sad about it, but that didn't happen.
I wonder how you feel differently connected to him now that he's dead. And I ask that because a friend of mine recently died at 55 years old. It was unexpected. He was somebody everybody loved. It was a stroke. It was just out of nowhere. And after I heard that he died, I felt suddenly like now I am connected to him everywhere, because I do believe that our souls continue on. I do believe that when he died, he became everywhere. And so all of a sudden I felt connected to him more than I did before he died, which is crazy to think about, but makes sense in this sort of line of thinking. So in that spirit, I wonder, after Prince died, if you felt differently connected to him.
Yes, for sure. And like I say, I channel him. So it's as though he's just always with me. There's a difference in the audience that has come, and the folks that came afterwards, more children. There was almost like people felt like they owed it to their kids, because they're never going to see this again. They're like, this is as close as we're going to get. It's a lot of children, a lot more meaning. It became less about me. It was like, well, in a way it became less about me. In another way, it became more about me. The way it became less about me is it took on more purpose. It's like, oh, this is filling a void and a need. Just in the example I laid out, that kids are never going to be able to see this greatest performer of all time, period. So, well, that's kind of torch to carry. I mean, that's some purpose. So I get that. And so it's changed in that respect as well.
Regardless of whether or not you believe in life after death, if you would humor me.
Yeah.
Let's say you and Prince are in the afterlife. You've got a whole stage, you've got every instrument you could ever want, and it's just you and him. What song are you playing together?
Things are much harder than the afterworld. In this life, you're on your own. Sorry, I had to do that. What song are we jamming? Well, we're jamming on some of my songs, which he never got to hear. And I would love, I think there's a few, so let me tell you this. It relates to the question. So Prince's oldest sister, Sharon, who's now the heir to the estate, she's been following me forever and always been very kind and supportive. After Prince passed away, she came to my show. We were in Minneapolis. She came to the show, and then she called me a few days later, and she said, okay, are you sitting down? Yeah, okay. Don't think I'm weird, but I got this gift that I inherited. I didn't have it my whole life. I just got it. But I knew my father had it, and what happens is we wake up in the morning with fully executed arrangements and lyrics and songs that are in our head, that we got in our sleep, but we retain them when we wake up. And my father had them, and she called it Source. We get it from Source. And Prince didn't have it. My father had it. His father had it. And so he would tell Prince, hey, come over here. I got this. I got it. Came from Source. Prince would take it, put it out. Anyway, so when her father passed away, she said that Prince got the gift. I mean, he didn't need any more gifts. Come on. He already had it, more than anybody ever existed. But now he could wake up with fully formed songs. Then when Prince passed away, she said she got the gift and that she has these songs. But she needed somebody to come and make that a reality. Okay, here's the song. Here's the melody that I heard. Go into your studio and make that a reality. So she asked me over to her house, came over to her house. She played this melody that she just got, was fresh from Source. And it didn't make any sense to me, the melody, just the way the time signature was. And I just didn't quite get it. And she said, you're not supposed to get it. You're not supposed to question it. You got to stay out of it. Here's the melody. Be religious to the melody. And the rest of it, you can take your own liberties. But this is the melody, period. She said, are you up for the challenge? I said, yeah, I'll try it. So went home, messed with it, an arrangement. And I'm telling you, it was one of the quickest songs that ever came out of me. And I used her melody, full arrangement, orchestration. I recorded the whole thing and lyrics, sent it to her the next day. And she's like, that's what I heard in my sleep. That song is called Colors. But Prince never, I would want him to, I would love to hear his opinion of that song and some of my other songs.
All I'm picturing is him nodding.
I like to think so.
Me too. Well, Marshall Charloff, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you so much.
We're going out with that song, Colors, so Prince can keep nodding his head wherever he is. After the break, Elvis impersonator Rick Torres has a vast wardrobe of suits inspired by the king, so which one is his most beloved?
It's the outfit that Elvis wore at the Madison Square Garden the first time. It's that last outfit that I performed when I sang for my mother before she died. It's probably the most sentimental outfit that I have.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay tuned.
I hear colors and I see sounds whenever you're around. It's so beautiful. Inverted senses are around. Darkness ain't around. And it's wonderful.
This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. From one legend to another, we're headed into the world of Elvis Presley through the voice, style, and swagger of Rick Torres. For more than 2 decades, Rick's embodied Elvis as a professional impersonator, playing to packed crowds, officiating weddings, and even signing autographs in some very unexpected places. Since he is the king of the road, I connected with Rick from the cabin of his big rig tractor trailer. I asked him to tell me about his background as a performer and how it led to him becoming the king.
I was an entertainer. I did a lot of acting. I did a lot of radio. I did a lot of singing with bands. Elvis was something that always kind of seemed to affect me in a different way, made me move differently. My attitude changed. It was different than anything else I had done. So there was a friend's birthday. She was turning 40. She wanted me to sing some Elvis songs for her. Coincidentally, it happened to be October. So I was able to get an Elvis costume from the costume store, put it on. It was the worst looking thing you ever saw in your life. I went up. I performed with the band that I had performed with many times to different songs. We did 6 songs, and I enjoyed singing the songs. I enjoyed the attitude. I enjoyed giving back to people. I enjoyed listening to the stories and the memories of Elvis. I have a lot of friends that actually knew him. So the thing about Elvis, as long as there's somebody to carry on the message, he will never die. I'm a messenger. I carry the message to people. I enjoy being a performer and a singer, but I've enjoyed some amazing experiences through his eyes. So it's been definitely an experience over the last 20 years.
I'd like to hear about how you use Elvis in a way to become bigger. Like you've said, he's tall, I'm short. The ladies love him. Not all the ladies loved you. What were some of those dynamics that he helped you with?
Well, he definitely helped me with my confidence. He definitely helped me look at myself in a different way. It's a window. It's like people, they see me, but they also see what I do. So it's kind of like somebody kind of standing alongside you and giving you a little bit of encouragement. I perform for people. I make people happy. In a way, it improved the quality of myself. It definitely has enriched my life. It's not like I'm playing a hiding behind a character. I certainly don't do that. I'm definitely who I am. But I do switch it on, and people do respond to it.
Okay, I've got to hear about some of these responses. I mean, some people were probably like, oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's fun. And some people probably react a bit stronger than that, yeah?
Well, yeah. I've actually had people say, I wasn't a real big Elvis fan until now. I never really got it. Children respond to me. Decades, Elvis has been gone. They respond to me, and they love it. I've had my share of people stalking me, calling me. It's all in fun, but definitely some unusual experiences, So
I wonder if you ever do any weddings, because to me, that's one of the stereotypes of an Elvis impersonator is you got to be doing a lot of weddings. Is that in your wheelhouse?
Yeah, I'm an ordained minister. I perform weddings as Elvis. Last year, I did 25. And when I do a wedding, I want to make it fun. I want to make it funny. Elvis was a big kidder. He's a big choker. So I'm saying things like, ladies and gentlemen, we're gathered here today to join this cool cat and this hot mama in holy matrimony because love is a thing that only two can share. And it's going to be shared by this cool cat and this hot stack of pancakes right here. And everybody starts laughing. And people respond to having a good time. If you actually look at a lot of weddings that you see, even in movies, there's always an Elvis song in there. Can't Help Falling in Love, or It's Now or Never. It's all part of it. Like Elvis is part of Vegas, and Elvis is part of weddings too.
Can we talk about outfits?
Oh, I have 25.
All right, well, I'm going to ask you a question that may be difficult for you to answer, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Which one, if you had to choose, and I'm making you choose, which one is your favorite outfit?
It's a real easy answer. It's called the powder blue. It's the outfit that Elvis wore at the Madison Square Garden the first time. It's the outfit that I wore in a couple of movies. It's that last outfit that I performed when I sang for my mother before she died. It's probably the most sentimental outfit that I have.
What does it feel like when you put it on?
I switch. I no longer become Rick Torres. I become Elvis Presley. I stay in character until I'm not. So I generally say things that I normally wouldn't say, and I do things that I normally wouldn't do. I've studied him so well that it comes phonetically to me now. So when I'm in character, I transform.
Do you ever feel like some of him really has begun to seep into you after all these years?
Well, in a lot of ways, him and I are a lot alike, personality-wise. But a lot of people tell me, including people that knew Elvis, one person in particular, Betty Grant, actually dated Elvis in 1956 before he went into the Army. They were dating. I don't want to get into any more than that, but she knew him intimately enough to know, and I'm not that I was intimate with her, but personality-wise, she goes, you guys were a lot alike.
How did that feel to hear?
Very, very flattering. I'm a very modest guy. I don't think I'm any big deal. I appreciate that people love what I do, and I like to make people happy, but I definitely have an insecurity side to me, and so did he. No matter how big he got, he was just a regular kid from Tupelo.
So this work as an Elvis impersonator has brought you to a lot of different places, which is one of the perks of the job. Can you talk about somewhere this has taken you that stands out in your mind?
Yeah. I had to go do a show. So my roadie sets up, and this is a show out of the outskirts. I think it's of a town called Minton, Minton. So he comes out and he looks at me and he leans against the car. He goes, so, what do you know about this show? Well, it's a show for an hour. He goes, everybody in there is naked. And I looked at him and he goes, did you know that it's a nudist colony? And I said, it said something about clothes optional. I think that means you can wear whatever you want. He goes, no, that's dress casual. These people are all naked. So,
so it's like that advice where they say, picture your audience naked if you're nervous.
oh yeah, it was definitely but I'm performing with the lights in my eyes, catching glimpses of this and that. But afterward, the lights come on and people are saying, when are you going to take off your outfit? I go, when I get home. You know, so I had to be a good sport about it. I played along. I'm doing Elvis Presley. I can do Elvis Presley's signature where it looks just like Elvis's. So I must have signed maybe 17 breasts, Elvis Presley's signature, and about maybe 7 to 10 butts. And I'm not saying all of them were women. That definitely is the most outrageous show I ever did.
Wow. You make me wonder, you rise to the occasion. What would Elvis do? And you have a good sense of humor and you bring your whole heart and soul to it. I wonder what you think the difference is between a good Elvis impersonator and a great Elvis impersonator.
I think a good Elvis impersonator does what he can, and a great Elvis impersonator does it the way Elvis would do it. You're portraying a character. You're no longer you. This has nothing to do with how good you are as an entertainer. It's how good you reflect him. When I go to take pictures and people want to keep taking pictures with me, I keep taking pictures because that's what Elvis would do. If somebody had a story to tell me, I would listen because that's what Elvis would do. I am no longer me when I'm there. So I think there are some guys that do the best they can, and there's some guys that really take it to the next level.
I want to ask this next question, but I also understand that it's touching possibly a raw nerve. I understand your son, Ryan, died in a car crash on June 2nd, 2003. And I was going to ask if you believe in life after death and if you would want to meet Elvis, but I have a feeling you would have a priority in seeing your son again instead. Yeah.
Yeah. I would want to see Ryan before Elvis, my mother too, and my sister. And having Ryan in my life for the 19 short years that I did, he taught me more as much as I taught him. So I'm sure he's definitely looking down on me. I've had some unusual things happen to me that I always feel like he's with me.
Like what?
I didn't have a really good day last week. I'm on my way home, and I look up, and literally there's a cloud of an angel. It was an angel telling you, you're not alone. I don't believe any of us are alone. I think that there's somebody looking out for all of us, whether it be God, Elvis, your children, your children's children. Somewhere, somebody's looking down on us. I believe that God looks out for me, and I believe my son does too.
After you reunite with your family members who've died, and maybe if you get to have some time with the king, Elvis the king, not the other kings up there, what do you think you'd like to say to Elvis after you've died?
I think when we go to heaven, I think the things that happen on earth really don't matter. But I would tell him, I think what he did was his purpose. What he did to unite people was beautiful. I think his legacy will live on earth forever. And I wanted to thank him for all of his music that changed my life.
What would you hope he'd say to you?
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. I would think that he would say thank you for carrying on what I was doing. It's been one of the greatest experiences in my life. I've met some pretty amazing people doing what I've done. And it's because of him that these things are happening. These good, fortunate things are happening. It's the memories of him. So I would thank him for all those great times that he allowed me to have.
For your segment on Elvis, what should be the song that I use going out?
Well, I would probably say the last song that Elvis ever sang was Unchained Melody, which is one of my favorite songs to sing.
Why?
It's beautiful. It's powerful. He sang it different than anybody ever sang it. I try to give it its due. I sing that song with a lot of power. I hold the notes like he did. It's a song that if you can't do it the way Elvis did it, don't do it. It's a beautiful song.
Well, Rick Torres, thank you so much for talking with me.
You know what? Thank you very much for calling me. The thing is, as long as there are people out there that remember Elvis, he'll never really be gone, So, on behalf of myself and Elvis, I want to thank your audience for joining us, and God bless y'all. Thank you very much. Be careful out there.
We're going out with a recording of Rick singing Unchained Melody. Audacious is always lovingly produced by Jessica Severin D. Martinez, Khalil Rahman, Meg Fitzgerald, Robin Doyon-Aitken, and Meg Dalton at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford. We had production help this week from Dylan Reyes. Check out other episodes about people who are really good at doing impressions, like Dean Edwards from SNL. Plus, what's it like pretending to be world-famous megachurch pastor Joel Osteen at one of his live events and getting caught doing it? You can find all of our inimitable episodes at ctpublic.org/audacious or on your favorite podcast app. Stay in touch with me on the socials at Kyone Wolf, and you can always send an email to audacious@ctpublic.org. Peace.
I need you. Go.